caught in the jaws of life. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jaws of Life. I'm back. Short hiatus. I was out in the woods hunting. It was cold. It was raining. It was blustery. Yeah, a lot of stuff. But we are back. We are here. It is the Jaws of Life. I'm your host, Jaws. You know the deal. This is my show. Hey, look, I didn't realize that showed. That's kind of cool. That's a picture of me drawn or painted in-house, so that's fun. But yeah, so welcome back to the Jaws of Life, episode 2 of the video version thereof. We're going to talk a lot of stuff today. We're going to talk a little sports. We're going to start talking a little bit of sports stuff and sports into the real world.
This is Jaws Talk Sports.
Jaws Talk Sports. So over the last couple of weeks, since the last time I did an episode, we had a Bills loss to the Dolphins. And as tends to happen in any time the Bills lose in this day and age, the Bills social media world goes absolutely fucking insane. They lose their minds. Everybody should be fine. I mean, I've seen things as far as the obvious and forever fire McDermott, fire Bean, that whole thing. That train I don't think is ever going away until either they win a Super Bowl or they both get fired. There's really two end games there. And I'm not going to get too much into that right now because there's kind of a specific thing I wanted to dive into on this. But, you know, I saw some things as ridiculous as we should trade Josh Allen because he's never going to win one here, so we're doing him a disservice, so we should just trade him, try to rebuild and do it again with somebody else better. Do it better with somebody else, not do it better with someone else. Just the obnoxiousness of it. And here's my thing. And if you know me and you've heard me speak before, you know I always have a thing. There's always a thing. My thing with this is to my core, now I'm a diehard Bills fan. Had season tickets for a while. Ended up having to give them up, not because I didn't want to go to the games, but because going to the games no longer worked with my schedule. But the thing that pisses me off is Bills fans, when the Bills sucked, were fun, right? It was, we were diving through tables and we were getting, we were notoriously intoxicated at the tailgate and at watch parties if people still had them. And then the Bills got good and it became a thing where we became famous as Bills Mafia and all this other stuff. And since we've been good for a while now, Bills Mafia has crossed that line into weirdly insufferable. And I'm a member of the Mafia here, right? So I'm a member of Bills Mafia. And I tell you, we are becoming insufferable. Absolutely insufferable. And it's obnoxious to me because we hated on Patriots fans for it. We hate on Chiefs fans for it. We hate on Ravens fans for it. But here's the thing that kind of irritates the hell out of me with this whole thing. And it's the fact that being a Bills fan used to be about the Bills. It used to be about being a Bills fan, enjoying it with people and being around people and everything else. And it's kind of become this thing now where it's about who's the biggest Bills fan. Well, this is my obnoxious tailgate, which is better than your obnoxious tailgate. We have the most stuff. We have the loudest music. We get there the earliest. We have the most alcohol. We have the most food options. We do shots out of a bowling ball. We squirt a guy with ketchup and mustard. And because in the rise of the Bills and the rise of the Buffalo sports football franchise, people got national attention because of their Bills fandom. And then the term superfan got coined. And Pancho Villa is probably the biggest one. And that dude, for those of you who don't know, he wore the luchador mask and was at every game. But he also did a ton for charity and stuff. And he did this when the Bills sucked. So he got a lot of love for that, and he should have. There's plenty of other ones out there. And you know who they are. You've seen them. There's the guy in the Hannibal Lecter mask. There's, the bowling ball shot guy, the, Pinto Ron with the ketchup and mustard thing. I think that's who that is. But it stemmed this other thing where these are guys who did these things when no one was looking. guys who dressed up like Elvis at every Bills game when no one was looking and nobody cared. Guys who, did like painted their faces and wore the mask and like all this other stuff when the Bills were not good. It's kind of like the dude in the fireman cap for the Jets that started the JETS Jets thing before every kickoff. And in turn, kind of like him. Now, he made national headlines it was either earlier this year or early last year because he was upset because he went to the news to basically say that he's no longer being featured on TV and on the big board at the game prior to kickoffs, that they're no longer showing him to do the JETS Jets thing. Buddy, you're not on the team. You're a fan. And like you had your 15 minutes of fame, which is more than most fans ever get for being a fan of something. But like to go and publicly state that you're upset that you're not getting recognized as a fan in the stadium or on TV is ridiculous. And Bills Mafia is kind of getting there, right? Like we end up like, for lack of a better term, eating ourselves, like eating our young, because it's no longer about being a Bills fan. It's no longer about being part of, Mafia means family. And that was always a big thing, right? Like we were a diehard group and you could, no matter how bad we were for how long, you couldn't shake the fact that you were a Bills fan because Bills Mafia ride and die, period. We are ride or die. And now it's become like we've become the fan base that like, you don't agree with me, so you don't know ball. I don't know, man. You're an accountant. What do you know about being a football coach or a GM? Like, it's not fantasy. It's not Madden. That's what you know. You know fantasy football and you know Madden. You like people screaming and pounding the table about trades. Well, other teams are able to. I agree. And what the guy in the front office is willing to do for a trade versus what other guys are not willing or aren't willing to do, and vice versa, you have no say over. Like, and it's become this thing where like I need to prove I'm the biggest fan by being the loudest, by being the most obnoxious, by being the guy who or girl who. Which shout out to all the female Bills fans out there that are diehard about it because you guys are awesome. Period. But the thing that pisses me off about this is like you can't talk to people, right? Because they come from this holier than thou position, and it starts with your media personalities, and of course they have a little bit more insight, they have a little bit more access than a normal person, but a lot of them have kind of become shock jocks, in my opinion. Like I'm going to just overreact because I'm going to overreact. And that has stemmed into then your regular sports content creators. I watch film. Okay. Well, what I can tell you is you can rewatch the game unless you have access to the team's game films. I don't know what that means. Like, having been in the sports world. Now, some context about me, I coach. I've coached for a long time. Granted, different sport. But I've also been around football coaches. And watching tape is significantly different than watching the broadcast. And there are guys and there are accounts out there who have unbelievable access to some of the stuff. Where you can find camera angles of straight down the line, angles that maybe weren't shown on the broadcast. And, those do come out from time to time. But like, I watch the film. No, you watch the game. And then you rewatch the game and you rewatch the game and you try to nitpick things. And like, but it doesn't actually mean you know what you're talking about. You see, like you watch like everybody else watches. Like, look, this guy's open. Okay, what read was he? Was he read 5? I don't know many quarterbacks that get to read 5 without either moving the pocket or just there's no rush. Like they send 2, they're like spying, and it's like a prevent style defense. Like, well, he's right there. You have to see him. Okay. And if he looks to him and it's a 2-yard game, but read number 2 is wide open down the middle for a touchdown and we don't see that guy, And sometimes that guy's read 5. So, like, that's the stuff that matters. Like, and just like when you bring that up, you don't know ball. I watched film. Listen, buddy, I'm just talking sports because
This is Jaws Talk Sports.
sometimes Jaws talk sports. But like I'm literally just bringing up a point. Like, listen, that dude may have been the last read. So yeah, he's open, but he never got there, and he wasn't supposed to get there. Like, so, and you say that, and then you become, you're an asshole, you're a dickhead, like, and you get called names and you get dragged. Cool. And listen, I'm not always right. I don't think I'm like, if I'm sharing my opinion, it's because I believe it, but it doesn't mean it's right. And I'm not going to belittle somebody for disagreeing with my opinion. I have had plenty of conversations with people that I don't agree with I had an entire podcast that was built on the premise that me and one of my best friends argue about sports nonstop. Put up like 200 episodes, and he was on them. And every time he was one of my co-hosts, we inevitably had a disagreement. One of the biggest ones was the positionless football argument, which is kind of where a lot of this is coming from. So this stemmed from the trade deadline, leading to a bad loss, right? Bills didn't do anything on trade deadline, then we led to a bad loss. And I was having a conversation with a friend about specifically Raheed Shaheed. And my whole argument was, I don't think the Bills were ever in on him. And I apologize. I'm going to get off the sports momentarily in a minute, but I need to get this off my chest. So we had this thing where like, Raheed Shaheed, like, and he went for a 4th or a 6th. Okay, well, we don't have a 4th and we don't have a 6th, so we'd have to go a 4th and a 5th, and then we wouldn't draft for the 4th, 5th, or 6th round. And that doesn't sound like something we would ever do. But I also don't ever think that we were actually in on that guy. And here's why. Because the NFL is not Madden. The argument was he's fast. He's a 4.3 guy. Okay, we have one of those. Well, I don't think he's that fast anymore. He ran a 4.3 a year before Shaheed did. He was the year before. So if you're telling me he dropped that much in a year, that means that Shaheed is literally going to be that guy this time next year. So why are we trading for him? We already have that guy. Also, he is a slot prototype of a receiver. He's not an outside guy. Oh, he's got speed. He can stretch the field. Okay. But we have at least 3 slot guys. We don't need a 4th. Well, you're not going to tell me he's not better than these 2 and these 2. Right, but you're not making that trade to replace your number 4 receiver. We needed a number 1 boundary guy. We needed a guy to play on the outside to stretch the field that way. And we tried, from all reports. But, like, I got dragged for that. Dragged. Because, it's ridiculous. You're never going to convince me that you don't make a play for that dude. I'm not going to look, but Shaheed has, 6 targets total in Seattle. He's the number 4 receiver there, and he's not getting the football. I don't know. I don't think the Bills were ever in on him. But all these GMs out there who, now, I've referenced where I come from and what I do. Part of that is, part of coaching is roster construction. What do you need? If I build a baseball team with an entire roster of first basemen, we're not going to play. We might hit, but we're not going to play a lot of defense. If I have a team full of catchers, we're not going to, probably won't hit great, probably won't play great defense aside from one position. We're going to throw the ball real hard. That's about it. If I do all pitchers, we're not going to hit or play defense. Like, you have to have the pieces to the puzzle. You don't complete a puzzle by adding a piece you already have. You need the missing pieces. And, it drove me nuts to see people pounding their feet because we could have had that guy. And I'm like, I really don't believe we were ever in on him. And I was told I'm not a fan. I'm not a good fan because of that. And that's the stuff that drives me nuts about this. Like, somewhere in the realm of the Bills becoming a good football team, we as fans have lost base on what being a fan means. One, whether you go to games or don't, whether you have seasons or just go to the game occasionally, whether you have never been to the stadium, whether you travel to go see the games, it doesn't mean you're a better fan, a bigger fan. It means your life circumstances are probably a little bit different. There are plenty of huge fans I know that can't go to games on Sundays because they work Sundays. And feeding your family is more important than watching a football game. But there's a large sect of people out there who would tell you that they're not real fans because they don't go to the games. Or I've been told because I no longer have my seasons that I'm not a fan. I'm not a real fan of the team. And that's the stuff that drives me nuts. That, like, okay, because I can't go to games regularly, I could go, but I can't go every week. I can't go regularly. That I'm not a real fan, that I'm not a legitimate fan of the team, because that should matter. Or not spending the money because times can be tough. I'm not saying that's my reason, but it's some people's reasons. I know that for fact. Other people don't like crowds. There are people who just like, I can't, and I'm one of those people. So the last 2 years that I had my seasons, I was on the verge of punching Bills fans at a Bills game. Like, because the dude behind me is just screaming nonsense the whole time. And then, like, saying, like, we suck, we're brutal, we're the worst team in the league, we're a joke. Then we scored, and he wants to high five and celebrate. And I'm like, no, go away. And, like, this is the dude that would, like, get more drunk as the game went on. He'd end up leaning on you or spilling his beer on you, and you'd just be like, ugh. Anyway, but, like, because I don't like crowds, and it no longer was overly conducive with my work schedule and my life, I was told I wasn't as big of a fan because I no longer have my seasons and I don't go to every game. I don't miss a game. I just watch more cheaper and more comfortably from my couch, where the beer doesn't cost $12 a can. But you're right. Going and spending that money makes you more of a fan than me. Drives me nuts. Drives me up a friggin' wall. And off the sports thing, but staying kind of in the same realm. The world of social media as a whole, right? And I'm creating content here. I'm putting something that's going to be put on social media. And you can say what you want about it. I enjoy doing this. This is therapeutic for me. I'm also told I have a voice for it, which is awesome to hear sometimes too. But I digress. People are overly comfortable saying things online I don't think they'd ever say in person. And that kind of bothers me too. And speaking of social media, check me out, Notorious Jaws on Insta, Jaws of Life 25 on TikTok, and Jaws Talk Sports on X, which I don't just talk sports on that. I do talk other stuff. But, yeah, I was watching an interaction with two people yesterday. One was a Ravens fan, one was a Bills fan, going back and forth about things. And the Ravens fan regularly said, like, I hope you get your ass beat. Like, if I met you in person, I would beat your ass. And, like, I don't know, man. Like, you don't know anything about this dude. Normally, the person that raises something to violence isn't the violent person. They want to be violent. They want to be tough. But, like, I also don't believe that you would regularly tell a grown man, I'm going to kick your ass in public. Because if you did, you'd probably get your ass whooped from time to time. Or you'd be in jail. It's 2025. You can't just go out and throw hands. Trust me, sometimes I wish you could. Sometimes I really wish, like, the old days of, like, let's throw hands and grab a beer after, like, now that we've settled our differences, would be fantastic to me. That would be wonderful, wonderful things. But, like, just and not just that stuff, but, like, it makes me laugh watching grown men married who, like, loving husband and father, and then, like, they pop up on your timeline because they replied to an OnlyFans model saying, like, am I still attractive for my age? Yes. I don't know, man. I have questions. That one always makes me laugh. But I just, social media is such a wild, wild world right now, and it's the Wild West. I also can't stand the fact that people think that, just to stay on topic, like, Buffalo Bills super fan page 101 is breaking NFL news. Like, ESPN's not reporting it. Fox Sports isn't reporting it. Scheffler didn't post it. Rappaport didn't put it out anywhere. No Bills beat person is on it. But Buffalo Superfan Sports Page 101 is breaking news about a signing, or, like, and then they'll post an article, and then you find out, like, oh, Buffalo Bills trading for, former Super Bowl MVP, blah blah blah, and then you find out, like, they're talking about the Von Miller trade from 4 years ago. Like, but they got your clicks, and they got you to share it, and they got more people to click it and more people to share it. Drives me insane. It also drives me nuts that, like, the algorithm shows those things. Like, I miss the days when Facebook was just me seeing what my friends posted and shared. Like, I don't need to see these things I don't follow. I don't need, like, oh, you can click the friends tab. I shouldn't need to click a friends tab to see my friends' stuff. The option should be to see the other stuff, not to see the stuff I want to see and know what my friends are doing. But that's my social media rant for now. I had some other things on my mind here. I don't remember what they were. I thought of all of them in the woods, and I never put any of them on paper because I was in the woods and I didn't have paper. But I look around and I see these things on social media, which is unfortunately, I am the guy that if I consume too much social media, and I do that because my role as a coach necessitates it. I do a lot of promotion for my players. I do a lot of promotion of myself as a coach, to try to get lessons and to have people join my camps and clinics and stuff that I run. But also, I do recruiting and stuff that way. And then I have my own personal account, those ones, to have my own life. Because at some point, if the coaching stuff goes away, like I'm not going to be running a team Twitter account and a team Instagram account anymore. Like those things can change. Those come and go. I've ran different ones over the years. The college I was at prior to this, I ran that one. The high school I was at prior to this, I ran that one. Stuff like that. So those come and go. But I would still like to have my own for my own purposes. And I would still do stuff like this, but I would consume far less social media if I didn't have to do it for jobs. But because I have to consume so much of it, it's in my face and at the forefront of my mind all the time. Sometimes in an unhealthy way, because it's hard not to get lost in it. Because I am the guy who, I will get obsessed and obsessant over, what's so, I can't wait to see what people are saying about this loss. I can't wait to see who they blame for this one. Who's catching hell for this one. And then some of the stuff you read out there, you're just like, oh my God. And then there's 19 replies. And you're like, oh my God, what did people say to this? Do people actually agree with this? And then you move on and you go through it and you're just like, oh, it's 2 a.m. and I have to work. Maybe I should have just went to the game. At this point, I should have just went to the game because I'll be just as tired. Well, at least this way I have a voice. But I digress. It's incredible to me, the world that we live in with social media, and as a whole. And I know I've talked about that a lot on a lot of different on a lot of different podcasts. Probably even touched on it a little bit last time because it's been a week and a half or 2 weeks since I've done an episode. So who knows? I may have already talked about this. Hard to tell. Hard to remember sometimes. But I guess that's going to wrap it for now. I wanted to put something out. I wanted to get something out there. Going to be putting out another episode of Jaws of Life audio on the BICBP network soon. Got to just lock the wife down for that one to do that because that'll be fun. I may start ripping the audio from these to, upload there too to just boost content on that side. And follow, share, subscribe if you enjoy this. If there's topics you want to talk about, comment. I'd love to discuss things. If you want to join me, I'd have to figure out the logistics on that because I'm not paying for Zoom anymore. But would love to figure out the logistics on that one and get that set up. Maybe we can join me over there in that chair. There's another microphone. I have another setup out in the garage. In about a year, I'll have my own little office podcast studio that has this setup and that setup in the same room, so I can do multiple different things and set that up in that way. So that'll be fun, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. In the meantime, like I said, if you want to join the show at all, if you want to join any of my shows, if you want to come on a standalone episode of Jaws Talk Sports and we can talk sports nonstop, that would be fun too. Like I said, follow, share, subscribe, do the social media thing. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next time on the Jaws of Life. And as always, if you're going through it, here you go. I just found out last week that a young man that I coached for about a week, I barely knew the young man, but it's a nice little reminder here. He apparently made the ultimate decision to Control-Alt-Delete on his time on this planet, and he was a great young man for the little bit I knew him. A great teammate from the guys that I coached that were sad that he left. He had to go home for family reasons that year, and that was his last year of eligibility. But I saw on social media, on Instagram, one of the players shared that they were going to miss him. I asked what happened. They told me kind of the gist of it, and that just I want to end these episodes all the time with this message that first and foremost, I would 100% rather listen to your problems than read your obituary or read about somebody posting about how they're going to miss you on social media. No problem is ever too big or too small. If you need to talk to somebody, I am out here If you know me, reach out. If you don't, there are ways to reach me if you need someone to talk to. Asking for professional help is not a weakness. It is a sign of strength to understand that you cannot carry a load on your own. If you can ask for a spot in the gym, you can ask to talk to somebody. And you can help, and people can help shoulder that weight for you. If you think you're a burden on your friends, find new friends, because you're not a burden. You never have been, you never will be. And it may be raining right now, but it will not rain forever. You're allowed to hurt, you're allowed to feel pain, but you're not allowed to quit. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next time.